Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Good morning to everyone. We just thank God for all that has been said and done thus far. We received a powerful message from Dr. Corey Jones. I studied under his father at Tabernacle. My sister and I both did yes, an awesome man. So he comes from great lineage, and so it was really wonderful. His father signed off on a lot of my certifications as I studied, and just wonderful. We lived down at Burlington Tab for a good while. So, but I thank God for him. I thank God for the message. And as we always say, faith without works is dead. We must continue this fight. We must continue to pray. We must continue to trust God, knowing that God is with us. I believe that. And yes, sometimes I get annoyed with God too, because I'm saying, God, how long? And not long, but God, it's time. It's time. And so I trust God. I honor God. And I see God working through his people. I believe that the more we open up to his spirit and his power within us, as I've seen with our young people and this planning team, it has been awesome what you guys have put together. I know it's only by the power of God's divine spirit that works in you, his greatness that lives in you, that is evolving more and more each day. And as we yield and open up to that authentic spirit that he has given us, you will see more of the power of God in the lives and the victories of our people. Okay, because so much of what we've been taught, I personally believe, constrains us. Those are so culturally and traditionally imposed constraints that have been put upon us and that we have embraced, that limit our understanding of who God really is. And God is vast. He's more than anything that we know. He's bigger than any religion. He surpasses all religions and theology and ideologies. And when we come to understand that and don't put limitations on God, watch him be magnified in you and in everything that you touch. And so with that, I think we will see more and more and greater victories. I do trust him. I know that he's in charge and he's on both sides of the coin. And it's important that we remember that God is on both sides of the coin. Remember, he was with Moses and he was with Pharaoh. He hardened Pharaoh's heart and he let Moses know, I'm going to harden his heart. So what Pharaoh did was not of his own volition, okay? God was in charge. God was orchestrating both sides of the coin. And so it's important that we come to understand that about God. He's in charge. He's sovereign. And he's in charge of this devil out here that continues to do what he's doing, but we know that his time is up. He knows that his time is up. White supremacy is up. Their season is over, and it's up to us to the great fight, do what we need to do with courage, with boldness, integrity, and wisdom, and watch God change this thing, dismantle racism completely. I believe it will be completely destroyed and annihilated, and white supremacy will be history. I believe that. We just have to walk in our power and our greatness. And so I thank God. I thank God for you, Crystal. Marcus, you're doing an outstanding job. My gosh, my goodness. And so we look at our young people, we have much hope because this is our future. These are our future leaders. They are courageous, they are bold, they are no nonsense. I like that. I like courage. I love boldness. I do, along with humility, of course, but you've got to be bold and you've got to be courage and you have to dare to embrace your authentic power and spirit and greatness unashamedly and walk in it and just allow your creative genius to work in this land. And so I thank you. I thank you so much. This planning team has been outstanding. This is an outstanding conference, outstanding. And so we thank God for each of you, and I just wish you Godspeed. So let us just continue to support our young people, support them in whatever it is, even if they think different is good. Diversity is good. And so God bless you. God bless you. That's all I have to say. God bless you.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
Diane, our Religious Affairs Chair, Diane Hawkins, we appreciate you putting that word out for us. And, you know, we thank you for always supporting the vision and supporting the work of the New Jersey State Conference, NAACP, and always supporting, you know, quite frankly, being a real motivator for the work that I try to do within the organization. And I appreciate your ongoing encouragement. We're going to turn it over to the one and only Keith Baden, Chair of the Armed Forces and Veterans Affairs Committee, who is going to bring us a platform this morning to discuss the very important issues surrounding our military and our armed forces. They are certainly a demographic that should never be left out of any conversation for social justice and civil rights. It's for their sacrifices that allow us to be here and convene today. So we thank Keith for his service, and we thank all of our veterans who are on this panel, and we look forward to hearing from you. That being said, on to you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Chair Lady Charley-Sibley. And first, I want to extend to the New Jersey State Conference 2020 Planning Committee. Great job. You know, this is the first time that we had to do this, and the committee itself is outstanding. And I won't say your better half has done it better, but he has. Thank you all. The Armed Forces and Veterans Committee workshop is working under the bylaws of the NAACP. And everything done today, everything that our members do is under the bylaws. And you can see the bylaws by going to page 43 of the NAACP bylaws. First, I want to welcome the panelists and extend a welcome and a gratitude to all. We have had our invocation by Pastor Hawkins, and we'll get straight into the program. First, let me introduce you to U.S. Army veteran, John Smith. John, are you there? John is the parliamentarian and also in charge of the chat box. So everything that goes to the chat box, he will handle it. And now we move on to our panelists, which is James Harris, retired major, is from the New Jersey National Guard. And we also move on to the next panelist, past President Kathleen Witcher of the Irvington NAACP. And we're going to start off with Miss Witcher.
I thank you for this opportunity, Mr. Baden. I also thank the attorneys, Jean Ross and Bonnie Kernis, for updates. And I thank Anna Wilkins Daly, who was our past chair for the Prison Project Branch, for bringing me to this work. I want to mention several things, so I'm going to race at it, but I hear you have a chat box, so if there are questions, please feel free if I can answer them. I want to say that we had good news last November. On November 12, 2019, the Commissioner, Marcus Hicks, announced there will be veterans housing at East Jersey State Prison. I have no updates on that, but I'm hoping that the housing will be provided for veterans. I want to say that there is sad news because we do have a lockdown and pandemic, and visitations were just opened up on Friday for the families of our prisoners. We know that at this time on Friday, 64 people passed away from coronavirus. We also know that 15 are hospitalized at this time, including prisoner Edward Ates. We wish him well. He's 75 years old, suffering from COVID-19. And we also are sharing information that those families who have not received stimulus checks, the $1,200 promised under the CARES Act, can apply, but must apply by writing and mailing the form to www.irs.gov, get the form, fill it out, mail it in. The deadline for that form is. Now we have some complaints, and those complaints come from prisoners in various locations. First one we want to talk about is rather serious. The prisoners at East Jersey saved $1 a month and donated it to the Incarcerated Veterans of America, Incorporated, to purchase a computer. That computer, costing almost $1,800, never arrived at the prison, and the refund promised by the company also was never received. So we have that at issue. We also have at issue that many of the prisoners have applied for relief, for supports, and haven't received them. Hopefully, moving past this period of time where there's lockdown, there will be relief for those prisoners because they are promised to have disability claims, education, including college education. They're promised to have pension payments, but not in full. They're promised to have health care, mental illness support, substance abuse support, and also home loans. There are many benefits that the veterans in our prisons are entitled to, and they're complaining that when they have completed all the steps, the agencies haven't been forthwith. We also have from CS, now housed at South Woods Prison, a complaint that he was refused physical. He was applying for disability status. He's been the organizer of incarcerated veterans for more than 30 years, and he was refused the privilege of having completed a physical for disability status. As we know, Mr. Sontag, who had been president at East Jersey of Incarcerated Veterans of America, did get a transfer after he complained about the missing monies and the missing computer. So we have many things that we would like to see done, and I have several action items that I would like to share at this time. Number one and foremost would be that we want to reactivate the prison branch of the NAACP at East Jersey State Prison. We also would like to expand and include veterans in a veterans branch of the NAACP in our prison system. We would like to see more addressed on the use of force, especially and particularly against veterans suffering from disorders like PTSD and prisoners who have been assaulted by corrections officers who may not understand their mental health issues. We know that on November 4th, there will be the release of 2,000 prisoners. They are on early release because they are due to complete their term of incarceration in 8 months and have not committed violent crimes. When they come out, we hope that they will be provided services for jobs and employment. We hope that they will go to a house, to a home, and not be homeless. But we also know that we need to provide for veterans who are homeless and shelters to provide care for them. Additionally, for action items, we would like to see an expansion of the education programs, the vocational programs, a return to dairy. We had a dairy farm, a return to more of farming, and prisoners who cook for themselves. The processed foods are not the best nutritious foods, as well as exercise and possibly yoga classes for our prisoners. Our prisoners have many talents, musical talents, artistic talents, and right now they're on hold. We hope to see an expansion in the near future by our prison system in the state.
Thank you, Sister Kay. And we'll move on to the next panelist, James Harris.
Good morning, good afternoon, and to President Smith and to Keith Baden, our chair. Thank you very much for the opportunity of participating in this very important workshop. Just have a few things to report and to request. Number one, we hope that all of the branches of the NAACP will in fact create a military Veterans Affairs Committee, because our veterans are having a very, very hard time in this present environment. As you know, this virus has taken an unbelievable number of our veterans who were in the two hospitals in New Jersey, at Lyons and also East Orange General. And I'm hoping that the NAACP will insist on a thorough investigation of the conditions that led to the unfortunate demise of so many of our veterans who were, first of all, had vulnerable issues in the first place, but to have gone off to fight a war for freedom and justice in this country, to come back and to be killed by a virus that's more deadly than bullets in foreign countries is something that we really need to investigate and find out how that is being addressed and how quickly the families of those members can be informed about what really happened. You also know, remember that in Paramus, there was an untold number of veterans who passed away at the Veterans Home. We have a Veterans Home, nursing home in Paramus. We also have one in Vineland. There's a beautiful facility in Vineland. But we also need to be extremely concerned about visiting and making sure that our loved ones and our veterans in particular are being seen by both family members as well as the NAACP as showing appreciation. We need to find out to what extent the policies for visitation are allowed in these various facilities. As you probably know, with the governor's executive order, there was limited visitation that was allowed for many of our nursing homes and other type of health facilities. Our veterans, many of whom are aging, need to be assured that the NAACP is in fact standing by them and is available to provide any assistance that's requested. And finally, I just want to say to the various members of the New Jersey branches of the NAACP, in our list of committees, there is an Armed Services and Veterans Affairs Committee that is recommended and appreciated. It is extremely important that we find out where these associations are, and to also make sure that we make contact with the veterans who are in those facilities. We have American Legions all over the state. We also have organizations of Veterans Affairs throughout the state. And we just want to make sure that the NAACP does its part in making sure that our veterans get the services that they need. An interesting thing to consider, when I was growing up, and that was, and through the 70s, it was easy to walk down the street or to go to cities and various places and to see people in uniform. When was the last time you saw a veteran walking the streets of New Jersey in your community in uniform? And this is a major loss of support because the visibility means a lot. I can remember when I left Fort Dix after my basic training and went on to Fort Benning, Georgia. Everybody that I met in the airport, everybody I met on the street had some positive things to say. And these veterans came home without the traditional celebrations, many of them with serious problems. And many of those problems have not been adequately addressed. We have more veterans who are homeless in this state than you would want to recognize or to acknowledge, but they have to be acknowledged. We have to make sure that the New Jersey Department of Military and Veterans Affairs is doing everything that it can to ensure that all of the services that are available. One of the things that I will mention is that the Veterans Act, the Education Act for veterans who have been involved since Desert Storm, are tremendous. There are tremendous opportunities. It's possible to go to college with tuition paid. There is also a stipend that's available for books. There's also stipends that are available for tuition. We're finding that our African-American veterans are not taking advantage, and I believe that it's more to do with them not having full knowledge and information about the tremendous services that they are entitled to once they are discharged from the armed services. So my appeal today to civil rights activists is to make sure that we give proper attention and focus to those individuals who have fought for our liberties and continues to make a great sacrifice so that we can be free in a society. The last thing I want to suggest as an item, as a resolution to this committee, we should resolve to set up a meeting with Adjutant James Beal, an African-American director of the New Jersey Department of Military and Veterans Affairs. And we need to investigate what is the current status of our African Americans in the New Jersey Army National Guard, as well as in the New Jersey Army National Guard. It is my belief that while we have African American leadership at the top, that many of our part-time soldiers, National Guardsmen, are not getting properly vetted for promotion and advancement in the New Jersey Army National Guard. Those are my comments, and I would hope that we will continue to support this committee and that more of the branches will become more active in having a full-blown Armed Services and Veterans Affairs Committee. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you, Brother James. And we are making a good time. And if there are questions in the chat box, Brother John, would you bring them up, please?
Okay, Chairman Baden, thank you so much for inviting me to be a part of this most important panel. A lot of positive information from NAACP is in New Jersey. One question, has the NAACP taken a policy position on the proposed ballot question number 2, which affords some property tax relief for veterans of peacetime? For those of us who are veterans, we know that even in peacetime, we prepared for war. Incidents of violence within the armed forces occurred even during peacetime, resulting in post-traumatic stress disorder. Finally, peace or wartime, housing and employment remains an impediment to many veterans. So I think the question is, has our committee taken a position on the policy question on the ballot for November 3rd?
That's a good question. As the chair, we will respond to that question on the November ballot. And the question is a very timely one. And I think at this time, I will share it with the Armed Forces and Veterans Committee next week for the first time and present it to the New Jersey State Conference Executive Committee. Then we'll make it public. Thank you so much.
Also, they didn't have questions, but it's always good to welcome people, persons like Dr. Pritchett and Ted Carrington. When they are part of the audience, I just think that they should be recognized. And the other persons who had some positive feedbacks to our committee. Thank you so very much.
Mm-hmm. I think I saw, John,
Yes.
I think I saw another question, and this would be directed to Sister Kay. Has anyone contacted the women prisoner to find out if any are veterans?
We visited Edna Mahan prison at Clinton in New Jersey, and we were not able to get very far with our collection of information. I do believe once the prison branch committee is up and running again, and now that visitations are held again, we need to revisit to see, because the women in general wanted to organize a branch there at Edna Mahan. As you know, they have had several lawsuits filed and a number of hearings were held concerning sexual abuse and harassment of the prisoners at Edna Mahan. So it's well worth looking at to see if there are veterans, and also to see if they would organize to work with us with a prison branch.
Thank you, Sister Kay. And let me just add some more to that question. This is an area that we have to bring up to the national NAACP, because all of the units throughout the country should be aware of this issue also. So I think at the 2021, no, not the 2022, which will be held in Atlantic City, but next year, the 2021, definitely this is something that will be brought up.
Chairman Baden, I just like to say that Rick Robinson, the chair of the Criminal Justice Committee for the state conference, is very active in the question being raised by the prisoners and the inmates at Edna Mahan. Deborah Smith Gregory and myself has talked to the U.S. Attorney representing the Assistant U.S. Attorney representing the state of New Jersey in reference to this matter. So maybe I will reach out to Kathleen, and she can reach out to Kathleen can reach out to me or Rick Robinson for further information of what's being done in reference to the complaints at Edna Mahan.
Excellent, Brother John.
If I may, if we have time.
Oh, yes, go ahead, sister.
Yes, I brought with me a book, The Cost of a Bullet. The Cost of a Bullet by Latif Lamont. And this is written by a former student of mine who served many years incarcerated. At one point, he was at East Jersey Prison. And that's the last that I saw of him, except that today I celebrate he has been released and he's back on foot trying to contribute. This would be a good read, The Cost of a Bullet, because it explains how young persons get involved in criminal activity, and then what they face in prison is not predictable. The unpredictable language and aftermath of being incarcerated is something we don't desire. So I would recommend this read. It's not a lengthy novel, but it is a very hard rendering. And I would say it's a riveting portrayal of what happens in the day-to-day in our prison systems. So please, if you have any time during this lockdown pandemic time to spend, the cost of a bullet, Lateef Lamont, will give us a better picture and perhaps a way of addressing those youth, male and female, who possibly may get involved in juvenile issues that cost them almost a lifetime, as they will wind up in our prison systems.
Sister Kay, we plan to put out an Armed Forces and Veterans newsletter for November, and we'll certainly include this publication by the veteran in the newsletter. Thank you. Panelists, do you have any additional information to add to our discussion? And I might add, the theme of our discussion is Armed Forces and Veterans Affairs during the times of the 45th USA President. And I'm just going to bring up one issue with the virus. You know, if you go to the VA and you can be tested for the virus, and I'm told that shortly, when the vaccines do come online, that they'll be available to all veterans. But I caution all veterans, and I would urge you to take a look at the statement that was made by the Newark president on the vaccines. I think we have to move ahead, maybe take it, but you have to be cautious. And I will certainly keep veterans updated on my personal and also what the scientists are saying about taking this vaccine at an early date.
Mr. Biden, I'm very happy that you brought up that issue. And I would most certainly recommend just what you said, that we pay better attention to people who are in the medical field than we take from our leadership at the top. Because I believe we're in a state where even people in uniform don't have a great deal of respect and admiration for the commander-in-chief. And we are to be particularly careful that our race, and particularly our most vulnerable race of people who happen to be locked into our urban centers and hotspots, are not put into situations where they are test cases for what may be an unsafe vaccine, which most of the medical profession is saying is going to take at least into 2021 to actually market with some type of confidence. But there's a whole lot of mixed messages being sent from various places. So I would encourage our family members who have veterans who are in these facilities and who are invited to be experimental with this vaccine. I see in the paper that today, or maybe today, that they're having a major problem getting African Americans throughout the country to be quick to offer themselves. And as I think about the veterans who are in our nursing homes or the ones who are in the hospitals, they may or may not be conscious of all of the conversation that's taking place in the public, and I hope we don't allow them to become victims without some type of careful communication to them.
Thank you, Brother James. And I just want to raise a flag for veterans like us from the last century, and some of these things that took place with vaccines and different issues with the VA, that we have to be extremely careful. If you recall the 60s with the flu vaccine, there were some issues. And I just want to raise that red flag. We have to move forward very fast for the world population. This is a world crisis. But we have to move fast with the vaccine, but we have to be extremely careful, extremely careful. Thank you. Any additional questions? Comments by the
I'd just like
panelists?
to chime in a little bit, if I may. I want to also agree with Mr. Baden and with Mr. Harris that we have to take caution. I read daily about the time it takes to prove that a vaccine does work. So with reading that, I note that the epidemic works, and without giving it time to prove itself, you may be creating more of a situation than what we have. In New Jersey, just yesterday, the report from Friday that we have almost 800, more than 800 people who tested positive. Last Sunday, the report from last Saturday,
has an outline of just what his committee, and many
Chairman
Go ahead.
Biden, for those who have been implore tour. Is always prevalent. Advantage because the opportunities are gone. But more importantly, it's very important that we make every effort possible through our committees to get the information to the people on the street, to the families of the veterans, to the veterans are taken advantage of. Other people do. There's also, as you know, there has long time been assistance for veterans who wanted to purchase homes. We African Americans have the lowest home ownership of all the racial and ethnic groups in this country. They haven't taken full advantage of because they're not fully aware of what they are. And I think the NAACP can do a great service to our veterans by making sure that we have that information available and that we're insisting that the people with that information share it with the proper organizations in a timely fashion.
Yeah, just to add to that, in our last newsletter that was sent out last week, we did get some housing information from our housing chairman that on free housing, and we really appreciate that. And I also want to add, and our time is running down, up to 41 units in the New Jersey NAACP. There are only about 4 more activation in these units for veterans by veterans. So I would urge all to become more involved. We do have time, and I'm going to be moving on to what we were saving for the very end, naming the 2020 Soldiers of Valor. And again, we have started in 2011, and next year, 2021, will be the 10th anniversary. And the Soldier of Valor Award was started by James Harris. So I want to thank James. We are continuing with the award. And this year, the awards will go to Isla Williams Tatum. She is a West Point graduate, class of 1987. And she is also head of the Morris County she's president of the North Jersey Buffalo Soldiers Motorcycle Club. And she does ride a motorcycle. I just want to stress that. And we want to congratulate her. Last year, she was awarded the Morris County 2092 Soldier of Valor for 2019. So congratulations to Soldier of Valor, Williams Tatum. And we also want to congratulate the next winner, who is Master Sergeant Ralph Witcher Jr. And he's United States Air Force retired. and he is a graduate of the Newark, New Jersey South Side School, which is now the Malcolm X Shabazz High School. And over the years, he has received numerous meritorious citations for his service in the Air Force from 1962 to 2018. And his continued work is to inspire African-American youth to pursue careers in aircraft mechanics. So again, we want to congratulate veterans Williams Tatum and veterans Master Sergeant Witcher Jr. And the awards will come later. These will be a special time and a special Zoom that we will present these awards. And I might add, if all the Soldier of Valors that are now part of the panel, if you would put your hand up. Thank you again for your service. We'll take some more questions from the chat box if there's more. And Brother James, you want to move ahead? You had a question.
I was just celebrating the Bulldog from Southside High School in Newark, New Jersey.
Okay.
I'm a Bulldog.
Okay, thank you. Okay, and there's no more questions in the chat box.
Brother Baden, quick question.
Okay.
You were mentioning how there's so few Veterans and Armed Forces committees across the state. Could you give some information of how someone would go about starting one up in their branch?
Simple. Step one is to contact your unit president and say that you would like to become a participant or even the chair of the committee. And I think that's important. If you want to recommend something, you should be involved in it. And then what you would do is to contact the chair of the Armed Forces Veterans Committee, and we would go over the bylaws of the National NAACP. So there should be a clear understanding of the bylaws, because everything that we do should be in compliance to the bylaws. So that would be the steps. Any additional questions? I'm going to take this opportunity. 2021 is going to be the 200th anniversary of Widener University, former Pennsylvania Military College. And it was founded by a Quaker from South Jersey. And I am the first cadet of color that graduated in 1960 directly into and commissioned directly into the U.S. Army Chemical Corps. So next year, the 200th anniversary of Pennsylvania Military College, founded by a Quaker from South Jersey, and you're going to be hearing more about that. Thank you for the personal time.
Thank you, Chairman Baden, and thank you, panelists. That was phenomenal. We appreciate all the great information that you guys gave us. And I believe you gave us some marching orders as well.
I just want to thank again our panelists and Sister Kathleen, Brother John, and James. Thank you so much.